Again, we're going over a period of years, and how do you feel about the media? Now, this morning I turned the television on to start the day, and I know about Steubenville, which is, we're not going to discuss the case, it's not our business, but 2 young men are accused of raping a girl. Okay, we know all what the news would tell us. How do you, as an attorney for either side, the defendants or for the city or town or whatever, prosecution, how do you feel the media stepping right in and introducing really the case to the public, which one of us in the public, if I lived in Steubenville, I very well could be on the jury, or someone I know could be on the jury. How do you feel about that?
Well, it's always a delicate balance. First of all, we have to be grateful for the media, although I find the media offensive at times, intrusive at times, vulgar at times, all of that, right? But thank goodness, beyond thank goodness, thank God, we have a First Amendment, and we have a freedom. So we have to be very careful. We can be critical of the media because we're in America, because we have a First Amendment. I'm not quite sure of what they did in Steubenville that has offended you.
And it didn't offend me. It was just, I'm wondering, you know, should I know, I even know the names of the 2 young men. I mean, do I have the right to know that before it even goes to court, I think?
Well, certainly if somebody has committed a crime, and if they are not minors, in which case their identities are protected, if they're adults, then that has clearly been established in our society as information that is public, that the public has a right to know. It's a slippery slope. I mean, there are really negative aspects of that, about
Sure
what's some allegations that are published and how the media ought to exercise restraint at times. But the First Amendment and freedom of speech and the freedom of information and the freedom to know is so important that although we try to achieve equity and a balance, it's a very, very difficult thing to do. But I do think the main principle is you've got to err on the side of information. You need to err on the side of public knowledge and dissemination of information. So it's beyond saying that it's hard to discuss that anymore on a macro level. We'd have to drill down and talk about what do you think about this set of facts as applied to this particular client and this community. And then with the nuances and measurement and balancing, you might get a different sort of answer depending on how fact-driven or the fact took you.
I'm certainly not going to sit here with Timmy Moynahan if you turned in late. Bad. Timmy Moynahan, who's a very, very prestigious attorney in the city of Waterbury, and I've known him for years and years and years. You're looking at it strictly through the eyes of the law, and that's exactly what you should be looking at it. I'm just looking at what if your name is put out there, John Smith, Mary Jones, whatever, accused or something, and go to court, you could take the whole thing, and there's an article in the newspaper, not guilty for whatever reason.
Well,
I mean, reputations.
No, it's true. It's true. I mean, but what all of us have to guard against, and it's difficult because we're all human. We all, even lawyers, although sometimes that's disputable. But
well, you do have the bunt of most jokes. I must tell you.
Some of them are well deserved, and others are probably over the top. But I think that we have to. It's very difficult. And I think I got as much training in my home as I did in law school. I like to think that most of the time I retain an objectivity about what I see on television or read. I'm not talking about the cases in which I become personally involved and I'm defending somebody. Even then, I probably overrate my objectivity because it's a subjective analysis or assessment that I'm being objective, but
you know who you're also working with as well.
Right.
You know the inner thoughts of someone that you're working with.
But I do think not to rush the judgment, to hold your judgment in reservation before all the facts are in. And judges tell juries, and we lawyers tell them in criminal cases, have you read something about this in the newspaper? Do you believe because you read it in the newspaper or seen it on television or it's received a huge amount of publicity, it must be true or else it wouldn't be ballyhooed like this? And you know, most of the time, when a juror looks at you and says, I haven't made up my mind, I read that, but I'm not going to decide this case until I hear all of the evidence, the cross-examination, the final arguments, and the judge's charge on the law, which is telling me what law to apply to these facts. I would say 8 or 9 times out of 10, I believe that juror.
You do?
Yeah. The one thing that astonishes me about the jury system, having worked in it for 46 years, is that it almost always works. And it's astonishing that you can take, in most cases now, instead of, other than capital cases, it's 6 jurors.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, now in capital.
When did that happen?
Oh, years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, so in kidnapping and murder cases, you still get 12. But to think that the candlestick maker and the baker and the clergyman and the whatever can sit there without any legal training and come to a better resolution, assessing the facts, discussing it among themselves, coming up with a judgment. I don't want to say I distrust judges, I don't. I respect them and admire what they do. But I would trust the ordinary citizen, not one ordinary citizen, that's a little scary.
6.
But 6, the combined intelligences and experiences of 6 people mulling this over, sworn to do their duty. I don't know what the percentage is, but a huge, high percentage of the time they get it right. And to me, you know, somebody once wrote a book about the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia. Maybe it was Catherine Drinker Bowen, I'm not sure. But it was called A Miracle in Philadelphia. That these disparate American farmers and tradesmen and so forth and lawyers could come together and produce this miracle called the Constitution. Every time I'm in a court, every time I have a jury case, every time I'm representing somebody, and we get a result, most often the one I want, but sometimes not.
Oh, that's,
Okay.
I'm impressed with that.
No, I don't, I don't mean it.
I know that. I know
I don't mean it that way, but whatever.
You're working, yes.
But the point is, it's a miracle that it works. I have no idea how it works. I don't know where the founders had the genius to devise a jury system and believe that it could work. It works. I've been doing it for 46 years. It works.
Okay, so what I'm getting out of this, and I think that my viewers they're the most intelligent viewers in the United States of America.
They're potential jurors.
Yeah, they are.
So
they're the candlestick maker and the people that work in our community, and they're all out there, and yes, and they're very interested in to hear what you have to say, because you're giving us an insight on an avenue that none of us really travel. So you would say that a jury probably, let's assume that both attorneys on both sides are equally as good. I don't know if that works, but
doesn't work.
Doesn't work. Okay. One is better than, I'm sure that's the truth. But anyways,
usually one is better than the other.
Okay, well, of course.
Yeah.
But a jury is truly the key to hold the success.
Oh, definitely. Well, certainly if you there's a reason they don't call it a lawyer's trial.
No,
they call it a jury trial.
That's right, okay.
So the jurors truly, well, sometimes I say to jurors, and it's not original with me, I heard it or read it 45 years ago, the jurors might as well, when they've gone into the jury box, each wear a black robe like the judges do.
Interesting.
Because the jury is told, and it is their obligation, that they are the sole judges of the facts in the case. The lawyers can argue the facts, but they can't tell them what the facts are. The judge can tell them what law to apply to those facts, but cannot mess with their interpretation of what the facts are. The juries are the sole judges of the facts and the credibility of witnesses in a case. And that is an awesome power.
Sure is.
It can't be intruded upon by the judge or by the lawyers. And that's why they call it a jury trial. And again, I'm telling you, it's a miracle. It works.
Well, we live in the best country in the world, I think, for law.